Hello, my name is Mary Kate, and I would like to share with you the history of Broadway.
Hello, my name is Samantha. There are very many haunts in this most amazing place.
Hi everyone, welcome back to East Coast Haunts. I'm MK.
And I'm Sam.
And we are back with another episode. Sam, you want to tell them where we're headed today?
We are headed to the Great White Way, Broadway, New York City, New York. We're going to be talking about haunted Broadway theaters.
That's so exciting.
I'm
so
so
excited.
excited.
As a theater gal, you might have a little bit of input on some of these productions.
Oh,
that we're gonna be
absolutely.
talking about.
I think that we both are very versed in theater. Mary Kate, you starred, first of all, as Gabriella Montez in your
did.
7th grade production of High School Musical.
That's it. I'm so impressed that you remember that was 7th grade.
Because I thought I did think it was the coolest thing ever.
Aw,
and I was
that's so
jealous because,
cute.
as you were doing that, I was playing Scuttle in The Little Mermaid.
You weren't playing Honk.
No, that was 6th grade. Yeah, I played birds all throughout middle school, and then you got to play Gabriella. So I was but we're both very into theater. I majored in theater in college. Obviously, it paid off. Look at me now. But so we both have a ton of knowledge. We both love Broadway, so we thought this would be the perfect haunt to dive into. But before we do, Mary Kate, you had some things to say.
Yes, I do. So, first off, just a couple of laundry list items. Sign up for our new newsletter. There's a form at the bottom of our website, and we're going to be sending out weekly updates, sneak peeks, and hints for future episodes.
Ooh.
And then if you sign up for our Patreon, you'll get a separate Patreon newsletter that'll give you voting power for new episodes, exclusive information, and early access to merchandise, which is coming in the future.
In the works.
And bonus episodes.
Voting power, that's pretty cool.
Isn't that?
We're
I
a
thought it was kinda
democracy
neat.
here at East Coast Haunts.
Yes, we are. We believe in the power of the people. Also, very exciting news. So I'm sure some of you remember that probably about 2 weeks ago, we released an episode on the Watcher House in Westfield, and we mentioned that there's a series on Netflix coming out. Well, this series from Ryan Murphy, who's the same guy of American Horror Story.
And Dahmer, which just came out too,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
It has a release date set of October 13th. So we will be watching it, and we'll be comparing it to the real life case, maybe with a special guest.
Yeah,
so,
I'm excited.
Very exciting. And then also, there is a new Jersey Devil movie. It's called The Devil You Don't.
Okay.
And it's completely shot in the Pine Barrens.
Wow.
So that's kind of neat.
How high is this, a student film, or is it legit?
I think it's more of an indie film, but we still gotta watch it.
I would love to know how they're going to portray the Jersey Devil.
It's more, there's a trailer out for it right now. It's more the historical background and the climate of the time.
Oh, okay.
Kind of like what we were talking about with the whole Ben Franklin thing,
Yeah.
the almanac. And then, I know.
The drama with the almanac.
And then they're gonna get into
Mother Leeds.
Exactly.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to watch that. That's cool.
Very exciting stuff. And then, as promised on our Instagram, thank you everyone for participating in our trivia contest. And we're gonna give a little shout out to our winner, Zach Herbin.
Zachary, we're so proud of you. You're a true horror movie buff.
I really just want to put it out there that this was not rigged in any way.
The winner does happen to be Mary Kate's boyfriend, but
it
truly was not rigged, although I do see how it looks to the outside world.
He is a little bit of a savant when it comes to movies, and even which we had a lot of people guess the tiebreaker question, which was there was one about The Exorcist, and then there was one that was, what was the release date of Rosemary's Baby?
Yeah.
And the answer was June 12th, 1968. And Zach knows movie years at the drop of a hat.
It's
crazy.
Yeah.
And then, being the lovely man that he is, he guessed 6/9
for
1968. So he ended up being 3 days off, which set him apart from our second place winner.
Well,
so
whatever he did, it worked. So congrats, Zach.
Congratulations. We'll be doing more contests soon, I think.
Yeah, because that was really fun.
It was fun, and you guys seem to enjoy it too.
Yeah.
So, exciting news. But now, without further ado, let's get into some fun Broadway questions.
Ease our way into the episode.
Yeah, just to get to know your Broadway persona.
Okay. Ooh, okay, let's go.
All right. Since I can't ask you to pick your favorite show that you've seen, I'm going to ask you to give me a top 3.
Okay.
That you've seen.
That I've seen.
Yes.
All right. Straight away, I'm going to have to say Book of Mormon,
okay,
which we
excellent.
saw together years and years ago.
Oh, great.
We were definitely much too young to see it. Like,
probably,
apparently my paternal grandma got mad at my parents for letting me see it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Because it was back then, that was, like, very inappropriate.
Well.
But that was absolutely one of my top 3.
Okay, so Book of Mormon.
My number 2, and this is not in a particular order or anything.
Gotcha.
I would say would be Wicked.
Okay.
Which I know it's basic.
But it's basic for a reason. It is so good.
It's so good. And
it's so good.
I've liked, I remember like when I first heard the song Popular, like years and years and years ago in like elementary school, I was obsessed with it. So like Wicked will always hold a special place in my heart.
I remember you being obsessed with Popular because you know how Alphabet has like 2 lines in that?
I know where this is going.
We used to perform it for the parents and you would be Glinda and I would be Alphaba and I'd literally sit there.
She just goes like, thanks. And that's like it.
I have to go.
Yeah, that's what it is. And I was like, I'll be Glinda. So that's definitely one of them. And I would say number 3, I feel like I've seen Les Mis. Actually, I think I've only seen Les Mis once, but that is like probably like one of my favorite shows of all time.
Really?
Just because it's such a classic and the music is so good.
I'm gonna be honest, I've never listened to the soundtrack and I've never seen it.
A lot of people don't like it.
And I've never seen the movie.
It's very polarizing.
I feel like it's one that I have to listen
but it's
to, though.
So good. Like, I literally love it. And actually, when I saw it while it was on tour, and this was like years ago. I was probably in like 8th grade, and Gavroche, who was like the little boy, was played by Gaten Mazzarato.
Oh, from Stranger Things.
Yes.
Oh my god.
And so my little sister and I have a photo with him.
Wait, that's so neat.
And it was like before he was. I mean, obviously he was already like fairly famous because he was like touring, but this was before Stranger Things. So
that
like,
is so neat.
I know, isn't that cool?
It's a little claim to fame.
So I would say those are my top 3. What are yours?
I would say Little Shop of Horrors.
Of course.
Is phenomenal. We saw it this past like spring.
Yeah.
And we saw it with Christian Borle, and he's just unreal.
He
is so funny.
Yeah.
So, you know, my sister actually played Audrey in her high school production of Little Shop of Horrors.
Yeah, she was so good. Oh my god. Yeah, that was one of the best high school shows I've ever seen.
Oh, for sure.
It was amazing.
It was like Broadway level quality. So, definitely that. Book of Mormon, obviously.
Of course.
I've seen that twice now, and it just gets funnier
every time. Yeah.
And then my 3rd would probably have to be Cats. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh my god, ew! Did you see my face like falter? I was like, are you kidding me? I was like, I didn't even know you saw Cats.
I've seen Cats twice now.
Why?
Not my own
That's
choice.
That's crazy. You're funny. I literally was like,
I think Cats gets a lot of hate because of the movie. The soundtrack to Cats is not bad. And it's impressive with the dancing, but I would rather go see a show that's more singing and acting heavy than dance heavy.
I completely
Does that make
agree.
sense?
And also, Cats doesn't have too much of a plot.
Yeah, no, it doesn't. If you asked me to sit here and explain to you the plot, I really don't know if I could. And then I guess my 3rd would probably have to be Since It's on the Mind, because I literally just saw it as Beetlejuice.
I was wondering if you're going to do that one. Yeah, you literally just saw it this weekend.
Yes, and it was phenomenal. Alex Brightman, he was born to play that role.
Well, it's got all your favorite things. It's got spookiness, funniness, musicalness.
Yes, and Carrie Butler.
Right? Yeah, so you had a lot of the OGs, which is cool.
All right, now on to the next question. What is your dream role? And you can pick a starring and then a supporting role.
I like that a lot. I would say for starring, I think Elle Woods would be really
Obviously.
fun. I do think that would be so fun.
This is my same answer.
And I do think, yeah, right? And I think for supporting, I don't know if this is technically supporting. It might be slightly more lead. I would love to play Eponine in Les Mis.
Okay.
Because, like, it's a big role, but it's not like Valjean or anything.
Who is that in the movie? Who is that played by?
Anne
Hathaway?
No.
Amanda
It's played
Seyfried?
Samantha Barks.
Oh, okay, so not.
It's the one that sings On My Own. On My Own.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, yes, yeah.
So that would be, I guess that would be that one.
What am I have to cut that out? That's literally.
No, you're fine. Who is your supporting?
Barbara Maitland in Beetlejuice.
Ah! Someone's got Beetlejuice on the brain.
Well, okay, yes. I know that I literally have it on the brain, but when they describe her as, like, the Pottery Barn and Dry White Wine side, like, that's never, like, a line in a musical has never spoken to my soul as much as that one.
And then you're like,
this
just understands me.
This is me.
That would be your typecast, as they say in showbiz.
Good. All right, what's one Broadway song that if it came on, you would never skip it?
Joanna from Sweeney Todd. I think that is my number one Broadway song of all time. I love it.
Joanna.
I love it.
All right,
it's so good.
You know who's obsessed with that?
Who?
My little sister Hope.
Yeah, who introduced her to Sweeney Todd?
You?
I think so.
Probably.
Hope, let me know. Text me when you hear this and let me know. Because I remember we would talk about Sweeney Todd like when I was doing it my freshman year of college. We'll connect. What's your answer?
Probably Man Up from Book of Mormon.
Yeah,
it is.
That's a good hype up song.
So good. I'll listen to it on the way into work.
I'll listen to it
on the way into work, and it'll literally get me like so pumped up.
Sometimes when I'm exercising, I listen to that song.
Why is it so?
And
good?
like when everyone's singing all together at the end.
Got to man up.
I
love it when musicals do that. That's why in Hamilton, Nonstop is my favorite because it was right at the end of Act 1. The song.
The Act 1 finale.
Exactly. Yeah. Is usually my favorite in the musical. Like,
that's fair. Because, it's building up tension to the next act.
All right. Now.
Next question.
All right. A musical that surprised you, and it can either be good or bad.
I have tried so many times to like, I know this is going to be insulting to a lot of people. I don't like Dear Evan Hansen.
I understand that.
Thank you.
I don't agree per se, but I do understand.
Okay, thank you. There's something about it, like, there's a couple songs that I like, but nothing else, like, does it for me for some reason. It doesn't,
in my mind, I saw it with the original cast.
Okay. I've never seen it, and I've also never seen the movie.
In my mind, like, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I did go through my Dear Evan Hansen phase. Now, looking back on it, it doesn't, like, stand out to me.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Like, I loved the music. Sincerely Me was like my go-to shower song for a very long time, but it's not like I don't think back on it and like wow me. Yeah, you know.
And yours?
Mine is a good surprise.
Okay, let's hear it.
I did not think I was going to like Jersey Boys as much as I did.
Oh yes, that's a good one.
Because I was kind of like going into it. Like I've always loved older music.
Yes.
Always. I had a radio show in college where I would just play like 70s through like the 90s.
Yeah.
But I was never really into like the 60s music until I saw that one for the first time. And I was like, this is
so good.
So good. That play was incredible. It has a very minimalist set. It's just like everything about it is perfect.
And I usually don't like jukebox musicals, you know, like
that's fair.
And Mamma Mia are the only ones that I like.
Okay. I have to think like what are the other jukebox musicals? Oh, there's a Billy Joel one that's pretty good. It's called Movin' Out, I believe.
Okay.
And that one's pretty good.
Okay.
The soundtrack to that, but it's all his songs.
So if you like Billy Joel,
I love Billy Joel, so
that's a good one.
I can't think of any more off the top of my
Carole King music.
Oh, I actually really liked that one.
I
Beautiful.
Seen that. Yeah,
I enjoyed it thoroughly. Okay. I have to say I have seen like a good amount of Broadway shows just because that was like the thing that my family would always do. Yeah. And we were just like a 40-minute train ride, so we've seen a lot. Okay, now I've got like a couple of rapid fire questions for you. Just first musical that comes to your mind.
Okay.
All right. Best soundtrack.
I think that Natasha Pierre and the Great Comet of 1816. I thought
it was 1812, but I don't
know. Yeah, it definitely is 1812. Oh my god. I think that is one of the best musicals ever, and I think it's so underrated.
I agree with you.
So that's mine. What's your answer?
Best soundtrack? Gosh. Legally Blonde.
Okay, fair. I like that a lot.
Best costumes.
Wicked would be my first thought, because
okay,
like Glinda's blue dress, I'm like obsessed with. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes, I love her
when
blue
she
dress.
floats down in the bubble.
That's like another dream role. But all right, best costumes for me.
Yeah,
I'm going a musical that I don't love otherwise.
Okay.
Polarizing, Phantom of the Opera.
Oh, see, I love Phantom of the Opera. I understand why people don't, but I love it.
It's just like I don't love opera. Like it's not just
but
like
it's not
I
opera.
know, but it's like it's close enough to the point where I'm like, eh. Like
and
it's not something that I'm gonna be able to sing along to in the shower, and that's why I don't like it.
This is how we're different.
I know.
But I do agree the costumes are awesome.
I can appreciate it,
yes.
Though. All right, best set.
Best set.
See, for this one, I might go Wicked.
Yeah.
Wicked, when she comes down in like the big bubble.
And they've got the giant
City.
Mask, the wizard mask.
Yes.
Thing.
Like
yeah, because honestly, nothing else really comes to mind.
Beetlejuice had a really cool set.
Oh yeah, don't they have like the snake thing?
Yeah.
Yeah. I forgot to ask you about
sand
that.
Snake. Or sand snake. Yeah.
Oh no, you told me.
Something. I don't know.
The striped snake.
Yes. Yeah. And then like it starts off as like the Maitland's home, and then when they die, spoiler alert. And then like the Dietzes move in, then it like changes to a different interior of the house, and then when like Beetlejuice takes over, then it changes to a completely new interior.
Oh, that's really cool.
It's really neat.
Okay. I would say that's up there, even though I haven't seen it. I guess I would say I literally can't think of anything else with a set that blew me away besides like Wicked.
Yeah. All right, facts.
All right.
Excellent. All right, now that is out of the way, why don't you pick a theater to lead us off with?
All right, MK, I think we are going to start with the Richard Rodgers Theater.
Ooh, okay.
Let me give you some background.
Please do.
So, the Richard Rodgers Theater opened back in 1925.
Gotcha. Kind of a weird time to open a theater, though, right before the Great Depression.
Well,
I know. I guess they didn't.
I guess it was the Roaring 20s. They weren't worried about that. It's located in the theater district of Midtown Manhattan, and as I was writing these notes, this was the first one I was researching, and I realized they were all located in the theater district. I should have known that. But I just wanted to point that out. And it has about 1,300 seats, 1,319 to be exact.
Is that big or small?
I would say it's fairly big.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say that's like I would say that's like pretty much on par.
Yeah.
But there are some with more, some with less. I would say it's like middle.
Okay, gotcha.
It has over its almost 100-year history, the Richard Rodgers Theater has hosted 11 Tony Award-winning productions.
Ooh.
Some of the most well-known ones are Guys and Dolls.
Okay.
How to Succeed in Business.
Wasn't that Daniel Radcliffe?
Yes.
Okay.
Although I think they might have this might have been the original production that ran there. I'm not sure though. Maybe it was both. In the Heights, and of course, definitely the most well-known, Hamilton.
How did I forget that for best soundtrack? That soundtrack is really good.
I forgot. Good. Yeah, I know. It was almost like too obvious.
I know.
We had to give the little guys a chance.
Yeah, true.
And Hamilton began its run in this theater in 2015 and has continued ever since, besides the Broadway shutdowns, of course.
Yeah.
So the theater was originally named Chanin's 46th Street Theater, or just simply 46th Street Theater.
Is that because it's on 46th Street?
Rumor has it, yes. I mean, yeah, it is, I think, right? Like,
it is on 46th Street. So.
Then yes, that is definitely the reason. But the name was changed to the Richard Rodgers Theater in 1990. Do you know who Richard Rodgers is?
I have absolutely no clue.
So, you might know him when I say the part of the duo he's in, Rodgers and Hammerstein.
Oh my god.
Yes, so he's like iconic, like probably one of the biggest composers like of all time. So yeah, once you hear it with Hammerstein, it's like
Rodgers and Hammerstein, duh.
So some of the hits of Rodgers and Hammerstein include The Sound of Music.
That was Rodgers and Hammerstein?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Oklahoma, The King and I, Carousel, South Pacific, and Cinderella. Cinderella is the Julie Andrews version.
Yes, I saw Cinderella, the Rodgers and Hammerstein Cinderella for my 16th birthday. It's
really good, right?
It is phenomenal. The one thing I will say about it is it has the best quick change I've ever seen.
Is it when she's like changing?
She like rips. She like her rags turn into her dress, and I literally was sitting like watching it happen, and I was like, "How did she just do that?" It's crazy.
Theater. That's awesome. Yes, they have like pretty much like from like the early 1900s or mid 1900s. Like they like all the famous shows are by them. I would say. Yeah.
Theater.
And Rodgers is also a member of the American Theater Hall of Fame. Not surprising.
Shocking.
Just a quick fun fact. So in 1980, when the theater was still called 46th Street Theater, the owners at the time were planning to rename the theater the Ethel Merman Theater. Okay. And Ethel Merman is very well known. She originated the role of Rose in Gypsy and Reno in Anything Goes. So she was like super famous. People call her, quote, the undisputed first lady of the musical comedy stage.
That is so funny.
She was super famous.
She's gonna come back.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, interesting. They were gonna rename the theater after Ethel Merman, but eventually they settled on Richard Rodgers. The outside of the Richard Rodgers Theater and the auditorium interior. Wait, no, that's wrong. The outside of the Richard Rodgers Theater and the interior are technically New York City landmarks.
Oh, interesting.
There was a huge drama with it, though. The New York City Landmark Preservation Commission, big name.
Okay.
So they began protecting the theater as a landmark in 1987. But then the three largest theater owners on Broadway, so all three of these big companies that pretty much owned like all of Broadway, they collectively sued that long name, the LPC, the Landmark Preservation Commission, in 1988 so that they could overturn the landmark designation of 22 of the theaters, which included the Richard Rodgers Theater. Because they said that if the theaters became landmarks, it would significantly limit the extent to which the theaters could be renovated or modified.
Oh, okay.
So if they ever wanted to make a change, it would be like a huge process. But the lawsuit went all the way up to the Supreme Court.
Oh my God.
And the Supreme Court sided on the New York City Landmark Preservation Commission. So technically, they're all still all those theaters are still landmarks, and that was upheld.
But only the outside is, or also the
inside, and I think they can renovate, but I think they just have to jump through more hoops.
Okay.
Which I guess is good. I mean, right?
Yeah, because you want to preserve a little bit of that history.
Yeah. So some fun scandals with that, but I would say when I hear Richard Rodgers Theater, I think of course, Rodgers and Hammerstein and also Hamilton. I feel like that's like the big thing right now.
Absolutely. I actually took a selfie outside the marquee of the Richard Rodgers Theater.
Oh, did you?
I'm gonna have to post that on
That's
Instagram.
That's gonna have to go up.
When we were walking to the Marquee Theater, which is where Beetlejuice is, it's literally right next door. So I was like, hold on.
Ooh,
this is gonna come up in the episode.
You were thinking ahead.
I was. Always.
So, do you want to get into the haunts now that I've given you the basics of the history?
So, in the Richard Rodgers Theater, there is said to be the ghost of a small child who just... It's kind of like a residual haunt because he just runs out of the dressing room with red lipstick smeared on his face.
That's cute. Aww.
Which is kind of cute, but like he literally doesn't do anything else.
Okay.
Like he doesn't interact with anyone. It's just like
that'd be exhausting.
They'll see him like run out.
Okay.
Yeah. But doors will open and close on their own, which is a very common theme with the Broadway hauntings. Okay. And props fly off the shelves.
Ooh.
Which is, I have to imagine, kind of a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
Because...
Especially,
imagine trying to, like, find a prop. And you're, like,
you're about to go on stage.
Go on.
The stress.
Miss your cue.
Miss your cue.
The chandeliers, which are, like, a big kind of focal point in the...
theater.
What do you call that? Like, the audience, like, the...
Mezzanine?
Auditorium. The mezzanine, yeah.
No, I don't know if it's the mezzanine. I just said that.
Within the theater, they tend to swing with no breeze.
Phantom of the Opera
creepy.
vibes.
I know. There's the sounds of walking, like, above on the balconies and howling.
Howling?
That's weird to me.
Maybe someone's warming up.
maybe doing some vocal exercises a la Sharpay in High School Musical.
But that's not howling. It's a little sus.
There's also a pair of ghosts known as... Are you laughing at my notes?
Yes.
Known as the Redheads. So it's a boy and a girl, Ginger, in mezzanine row H and box B, and they appear at exactly 2 a.m.
Okay.
Which
Who's in the theater at 2 a.m. though?
The night guards.
Okay.
So this raises the question, like, do gingers actually have souls?
That was the part I thought. She has a whole bullet point that just says, "Do gingers have souls?" ?
It's a valid question.
Well, I think if they're haunting, then they
do have some sort of spirit, I guess.
Yeah.
So, did we just solve a lifelong question?
Do we just crack the Da Vinci Code?
Perhaps.
Gingers do have souls. Final answer.
Lock it in.
It's interesting that it's mostly child ghosts in there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the Richard Rodgers, there's a lot more haunted theaters on Broadway, but there is still, like, apparitions of
We're starting
here.
with a tame one.
A mild one.
So, should we get into the next one?
Sure.
All right, so let's get into the New Amsterdam Theater. This place is very old. It actually opens in 1903.
Ooh.
So it's been over for well over 100 years.
Oh my gosh.
It's also, again, located in the theater district. Go figure. And it's also an official landmark. So it was also in that drama with, like, the lawsuit and stuff.
Right. Okay.
It has about 1,700 seats.
Okay, so this is a little bit of a bigger one.
Yeah, pretty big. And it is actually currently operated by Disney Theatrical Productions, and it's currently home to Aladdin. So the last 3 shows that have been there have been obviously Aladdin, which is current. There's Mary Poppins, and before that there was Lion King.
Right.
So this is almost like, I think of it as like the Disney Theater.
Disney Theater, yeah.
It was named, so the New Amsterdam Theater is like kind of a weird name. It was named for the 17th century Dutch settlement of New Amsterdam, which was located on the southern tip of Manhattan.
Oh, okay.
So like that was called New Amsterdam. And I guess then it
pay
became
tribute to
New
that,
York.
yeah.
So New Amsterdam Theater.
Interesting.
From 1913 to 1927, the New Amsterdam Theater was the home of the Ziegfeld Follies, which, have you heard of those?
I sure have.
Yes. It was basically like a bougie, lavish French revue, and a revue is like a series of short sketches and songs.
Okay. I was wondering what, like, a folly was.
Yeah.
Like, I've definitely heard of them, and I knew it was, like...
The Follies, yes. And there were always, like, scantily clad chorus girls. Like, it was a little bit scandalous, and, like, they would do, like, little songs and little skits.
How
it was
racy.
Satirical. So they were really well known for the Ziegfeld Follies for a while. In 1937, it was actually converted into a movie theater, and it stayed that way until 1983.
Interesting.
Yeah, so for like 50 years, basically, it was a movie theater, which I thought was so interesting.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Then it was leased by Disney, it was renovated, and it became home to Lion King, Mary Poppins, and now Aladdin.
Do you know how it was leased to Disney? The chairwoman, Marion Heiskell.
Okay.
She was like the chairwoman of the development of 42nd Street, which is where New Amsterdam Theater is. But she was close family friends with Michael Eisner, who was the chairman of Walt Disney at the time. And he's known as being, like, depending on who you ask, either the best chairman of Disney or the worst, because he made some really erratic decisions. Okay. But then he allotted some Imagineers to oversee the renovation of the theater.
Okay. Well, it paid off.
Yes, it did.
So,
and then do you know what Disney movie premiered at the New Amsterdam Theater in 1997, if that helps?
Maybe like Hunchback of Notre Dame?
I think that was a little bit older. Is it? I don't know, actually.
You tell me.
Hercules.
Oh.
Which is one of my favorite Disney
Great
movies.
movie. And it's also a musical now.
Is it really?
Yeah, it wasn't on Broadway, it was off Broadway, I think. But
I would love to go see that. The Muses on Broadway
would be so good.
That needs to happen.
So, okay, interesting. Very interesting. So, can you tell me about some haunts?
I sure can.
Haunted?
Well, I would like to talk about a famous Ziegfeld Folly girl. And her name was Olive Thomas.
Ah.
And she is the most active ghost on Broadway in recent years.
Period on Broadway?
Yes.
Wow, okay.
So they actually have pictures of her hung up around the theater so that audience members and ushers will recognize her and then say hi to her, because it's kind of like the same thing with like
so
Caesar the
cute.
Doll and George from Disney.
They want to be...
If they acknowledge the spirit will cause less mayhem during the productions.
I'm looking at pictures of her. She's so pretty.
She's gorgeous, isn't she? So Olive was a chorus girl in the Ziegfeld Follies in 1915, and then also in the Midnight Frolics, which were performed on the roof of the New Amsterdam
I did see
Theater.
something about how there's like a roof.
Yes, and it's like a Race Your Sister production to the Follies. It was like the Frolics.
What is a Race Your Sister?
It's like a more provocative.
Oh, I've never heard that. Race Your Sister?
Racier Sister.
Oh, I was like, what? I was like, Race Your Sister.
Yes, a Race Your Sister.
Yeah, okay. Oh yeah, Race Your Sister. Okay.
Race Your Sister.
That was painful. I'm sorry. It's okay.
But then her story kind of gets like a little bit sad because she got wrapped up in like some of the glitz and the glam of show business,
of course,
and got kind of like whisked out to Hollywood, where she starred in a few silent films, and then she met Jack Pickford, who she ended up marrying. But in 1920, she took a trip with Jack to Paris. And it was in Paris, which I don't know why he wouldn't have waited until after the vacation to tell her this, but he told her that he had contracted syphilis, and she likely had it now too.
Oh, wow.
Which is rough.
The most romantic city in the world. By the way, you have syphilis. Sorry about that. This is the second time syphilis has come up.
I was just thinking that.
With like the John List episode?
Exactly. Yeah. And so then the next day, she quote unquote accidentally, there's still like a lot of mystery, speculation surrounding her death. So she accidentally overdosed on mercury bichloride, which was prescribed to Jack to treat his syphilis.
Do people think that she committed suicide, or that he killed her, like poisoned her?
It's not likely that she would have taken the entire bottle of pills, so they like accidentally. So they think it was probably suicide. But it's still marked as an accidental overdose.
That's really sad.
I know, it makes me sad, but I don't think Jack poisoned her. And then she died 2 days later, and she was shipped back to the Bronx and buried at Woodlawn Cemetery. But after her death, like immediately after, workers and performers still saw Olive backstage, and then some of them didn't know that she had died. So they tried to interact with her, and she wouldn't talk to them. So they were like, "They're like, why is
Olive she in a bad mood?"
So then they went to like the stage manager, and they were like, "What is with Olive?" And he was like, "She's dead.
Olive died."
Yeah. And so she was super, super active in the 1920s, but then her activity kind of declined during the Depression when the theater wasn't as much in use.
There probably wasn't anyone to like interact with.
But she resurfaced during the 1995 to 1997 rebuild of the theater when workers kept complaining about a girl with a blue pill bottle coming into the construction zone and like getting in their way of work.
So she took a 50-year hiatus, and then
she was like, "I'm back, baby."
That's great.
And so some people hear someone tap dancing on the stage. She is known to be a full body apparition that speaks. People will mistake her for just being another theater goer.
Wow.
Which is kind of crazy. This one kind of freaked me out. If you're downstairs, like underneath the stage, sometimes you can see disembodied feet climbing the staircase to get on stage.
Oh yeah, that's freaky.
Isn't that weird?
So just feet?
Just feet.
Ooh.
And there was enough paranormal activity one night that a night watchman resigned.
He was like, "This is it." That's
immediately was like, I'm out of here.
Wow.
And he claims that he saw a woman like come into the theater, go on stage, walk across the stage, and then walk straight through a wall. And he was like, "That's good. Like, I'm good.
I'm good, love and joy." Yeah. I can't even blame him. That's terrifying.
And then there's a story right when Aladdin started that the theater or the production company hired a female conductor, and the female conductor was sitting in the dressing room before her first performance, and she was just kind of like talking out loud to herself, trying to calm her nerves a little bit. And she was talking out loud, and she asked Olive what she thought of a female conductor, because obviously Olive was back in the 1915s where like women really didn't do much.
Yeah.
And she was sitting at one of those like vanities with the big bulbs.
Yes.
And the four corners of the vanity started flickering on and off really fast. The four light bulbs. And then went completely out. And the conductor said that she felt like it was Olive winking at her and was like,
that's so
I think
sweet.
It's cool that there's a female conductor.
I like Olive a lot. She seems
I
sweet.
love Olive. She's so cute. And she is most likely to appear when changes, like little renovations are happening within the theater, or her name hasn't been mentioned, or she hasn't been acknowledged in a while.
She's like, I need some attention.
Exactly.
Like Tinkerbell, like how she...
she's a stage girl. Like, what do you expect, you know?
Aw,
she
she's
likes
sweet.
to be acknowledged. I love Olive.
Okay, now I want to go to the New Amsterdam Theater and be like, hey, Olive.
I want to see if I can see her.
I know.
She's gorgeous, too.
I know.
Really gorgeous. My family saw Aladdin probably a few years ago, and I wish I had known this story before we went.
I know, same. I know.
That would have been so neat. Ugh.
Maybe we'll have to go see again.
I would love
Olive.
to.
She's awesome. Okay.
I know, she's so cute.
Are we going
What
to
the attendance?
Sorry, I was like dead silent for a second. I was like,
It's okay.
I was thinking
You
of
need to
Olive.
compose yourself.
All right. Next, we're going to be talking about the Imperial Theater.
Excellent.
If that works for you.
Yes.
So the Imperial Theater opened in 1923, so it's almost exactly 100 years old.
Oh, wow.
Need we say again? It's in the theater district.
I wonder why it's called the theater district.
It's not in the meatpacking district. It's got 1,457 seats, so again, sort of like in that average range.
Okay, gotcha.
And it's had obviously a very long history, and in its about 100 years of history, it's hosted plenty of musicals, including 5,000 performances of the 16-year run of Les Mis. So
Holy
Les Mis
cow.
was in here for a long time, yeah. And some other notable musicals include Dreamgirls,
Gotcha.
Fiddler on the Roof,
Ugh.
and Natasha, Pierre, and the Great Comet of 1812. And if you ever watch like YouTube videos of that, like they made the set look like I know I was just saying I couldn't think of any other cool sets, but now that I'm saying this, I am remembering it. They made the set like they made the whole theater look like an intimate like dining area sort of. I don't know, and it's like the stage was in the middle and like people were all around like in a giant
Wait, I kind of love that.
It's really cool. I mean, I only saw like videos and pictures, but so the Imperial's cool. It's like old. That's it. It's old, but it's cool, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of like but it hosted like a ton of big shows and it's been around for a long time.
I saw that it also had some of the Ziegfeld Follies in it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And then
I believe it.
Cabaret and Billy Elliot was also in there.
Right,
and that's
okay.
The only reason that I mentioned Billy Elliot is that was the production that there was like a lot of hauntings recorded during.
Ooh.
So, getting into that, the Imperial Theater, like I said, Ethel Merman coming back, she's haunted. She's the Broadway diva, so of course she's not going to leave.
She's like, I'm staking my claim here.
She's back, baby. So she died in 1984. She was 76 years old, so she died of like old age.
Okay.
So nothing tragic that would like evoke a ghost, except for the fact that she loved the spotlight.
Aw.
She was known for her distinct voice, and she was always a leading role.
Right.
So
leading
she's,
lady through and through.
Like you said, best known for Anything Goes, both the musical and the movie, Annie Get Your Gun, Gypsy, and Hello Dolly.
Yeah.
She has a Tony and a Grammy.
Wow.
She was married 4 times, and her fourth marriage lasted less than a year from the time she was married to the time that the divorce was finalized.
Queen.
Go off. So
I would want to meet her ghost.
Her signature song, which I think it's so cool that she had like a signature song.
Yeah, no one really has those anymore.
No. That it was like her performance, like Rachel Berry on Glee, Don't Rain on My Parade.
Okay.
Beat. There's No Business Like Show Business from Annie Get Your Gun.
I've heard that one before.
So she was also like I feel like I would have kind of liked to hang out with her because she was notorious for like loving dirty jokes.
Oh,
and, like,
Ethel!
I know, and like her profanity. So there's this one really funny story where she was a guest star on the Loretta Young show, and she was going to place a prop somewhere and she didn't know where it went, so she was like, where the hell does this go? And then Loretta Young, who was raised like a devout, strict Catholic, was like a little bit offended, so she was like, come on, Ethel, you know my rules, that'll cost you $1. Like, put $1 in the swear jar.
Okay.
To which Ethel replied, tell me, Loretta, how much will it cost me to tell you to go fuck yourself?
Okay, she's funny.
She's also in one of my favorite comedy films of all time.
Okay.
Airplane.
I'm gonna look that up.
It's like a 1980 movie. It is...
Why did I think that was like a horror movie? Am I crazy?
Airplane?
Yeah. Oh yeah, look at I've seen this ad before.
So funny. We'll watch it because it genuinely is one of the very few movies that if I was watching alone by myself, I would be cracking up out loud.
Oh my god.
It's so funny. So Ethel hasn't been seen in recent years, but she used to be a very active spirit, and people would hear her walking around. They would like hear notes from her signature song, which was pretty neat.
There's no business.
During Billy Elliot, the ballerinas in the show were haunted by a ghost named Fred. And Fred would swing open their bathroom and dressing room doors when they were getting changed on them.
So Fred was a perv.
Yes, he was like a little peeping Tom.
Yeah. Those poor ballerinas.
Yeah, but they reported that he was like extremely active during the production of Billy Elliot.
Okay. So and then after that he was like, okay,
he was like, I'm out of here. No
like,
more ballerinas.
Gone. Yeah.
And I actually walked past the Imperial Theater when I was in New York this past weekend, and it looks like they're doing a lot of renovation right now. Is the theater closed right now? It looked like it was closed. Let me look it up. But it like actually looked creepy on the inside too.
Really?
Yes. If you like looked in, it's not hard to imagine that there's a diva haunting those halls.
Yeah. I wonder why I should show, like, if I was, like, the diva of Broadway, like, and you had, like, your pick of any theater.
I'm going Gershwin.
Chose. I guess, I think it is closed. Yeah, I wonder what their last show there was. I feel like it...
The last show I found was... Ain't Too Proud, which is the one about the Temptations.
Right. And apparently that one was, like, very popular.
Yeah. All right, speaking of the Gershwin Theater, which I just mentioned, do you want to get into the history of that?
Yes, I would love to. So the Gershwin Theater is super interesting, kind of like funny / interesting tidbits in its history. So it opened in 1972 as the Uris Theater.
Oh.
And so honestly, it's fairly new compared to all these other ones. We're talking about early 1900s. This was 1972, so comparatively speaking, it's pretty...
Very vintage.
Yes. Very not vintage. Right?
Yes.
Right?
I don't know why I said that.
Okay. Sorry. So, like I said, it was formerly known as the Uris Theater, and we'll get into that in a second, but it's known as the Gershwin Theater now. It's Broadway's largest theater, and it's got 1,933 seats.
Oh.
So almost 2,000 seats.
Wow.
Yeah, right?
I remember when we went to go see it, it was huge.
Yeah, I was like
massive.
And especially now that you've probably like seen more, because when we saw it when we were little, like we've seen many more shows since then.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's huge. And it's named after brothers George and Ira Gershwin, and they are super famous for writing several Broadway musicals. Again, they were early 1900s. You might have heard of An American in Paris, which actually, it's funny because it came out like a couple of years ago, but they had written the music for it for a movie, and then it was turned into a musical in like 2015-ish. Which, so it's funny, it's like they had a musical come out in like 2015-ish, but like they died like way long ago, so kind of interesting. And then also Porgy and Bess is like a famous opera.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure you've heard the name. Yeah. So the Gershwin brothers were very big names in the theater world, and they still are. The Gershwin Theater also contains the aforementioned American Theater Hall of Fame, which we were talking about at the beginning of the episode. Yes, like that's where the Hall of Fame itself is located.
Wow.
So, like I said, it was originally called the Uris Theater, and it was named for Percy Uris, who was the head of the Uris Building Company. Sorry, the Uris Building Corporation.
Gotcha.
The Uris Building Corporation built the theater within the Uris Building, obviously, like to name things after themselves. And the Uris building is now known as Paramount Plaza.
Oh.
And the Uris Theater is now known as Gershwin Theater.
Gotcha.
And allegedly, the Uris family's decision to name the theater after themselves became, and I quote, an object of ridicule in theatrical circles. So when they named the theater after themselves, people were, like, making fun of them. Because, I mean, you do see, like, all these other places, like, are named after, like, one, we've only talked about one, but, like, the Richard Rogers Theater, and then we're going to talk about, like, the Eugene O'Neill Theater. Like, they're named after all these, like, theater icons.
Yeah.
And this family comes in that, like, owns the... I mean, I'm sure their company's obviously very successful, but it's like the Uris Theater.
That's a little bit conceited.
It would be like calling it like the Home Depot Theater. You know what I mean? Like, so then it's eventually changed to the Gershwin Theater.
Good.
And it had a lot of flops at first, quote unquote flops. I mean, I'm sure the shows were still great, but just like, can box office apply to theater too?
Yes, I think so.
But like box office wise, like it didn't start off on the best foot. But eventually they ended up being the
people
home.
Didn't want to go to the Uris Theater.
Yeah, the Uris, like that just doesn't it sounds urine.
Sounds like urine.
Yeah. Like interesting. But eventually the Gershwin Theater became home to Sweeney Todd.
Love it.
Starlight Express, which was super famous in the 80s.
I've heard of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the Gershwin Theater, at first, it kind of had a slow start. It had a couple of shows that were not super successful, but then eventually it got better. It was home to Sweeney Todd, Starlight Express, and among many, many others. Finally, Wicked started there in 2003.
Such an iconic play. Musical.
Also, in my notes, I wrote that Wicked has been running since 1923, which is not true. It's been 2000. It's since 2003. Adele Dazeem, the wickedly talented Adele Dazeem.
You know when she was on the scene in 1923.
I'm scaring myself. So the Gershwin Theater has been home to Wicked for almost 20 years now. And the Tonys have also been hosted at the Gershwin Theater 6 times. Huh. So it's, I guess since it's such a big place, it can fit so many people.
Yeah, like, I guess so.
Let's host the Tonys here.
People, yeah.
Fun little tidbit. Starlight Express was the show that opened in 1987 at the Gershwin Theater.
Okay.
And when it opened, it set the record for the highest single week gross of any show in the Gershwin Theater and in Broadway history.
Whoa.
Which is crazy because, I mean, it is well known, but it's not like I don't think I could name a song from Starlight Express.
No, I couldn't. If you had asked me before, I would have said probably like Phantom of the Opera or maybe Les Mis.
Yeah, but in 1987, at this point, and that might have been before both of those came out. Maybe not.
But still, that's wild.
Yeah, so it was huge when it first came out, and then it broke its own record multiple times.
Oh my god.
And it ultimately ended up grossing $617,000 during the last week of 1987. So that was super successful. So that sounds like a lot for the time, but unsurprisingly, Wicked ended up setting the box office record for the Gershwin Theater, many times after that.
I'm sure.
In 2010, it became the first Broadway show to gross over $2 million in a single week.
Not surprising.
So Wicked held the record for the highest single week gross of any Broadway show until...
Wait, I'm on the edge of my seat. I need to know who broke this record.
Oh, you're gonna die. That's the funny part. Okay. Wicked held the record for the highest single week gross of any Broadway show from its opening in 2003 until 2011.
I'm dying to know who broke this.
Guess who broke the record?
2011? Was it a new show in 2011?
Yes, and I'm going to go on a limb here and say you're never going to guess it. It's like so obscure, and it's known. The show that this is known for being a huge fail.
Really?
Yes. So I was shocked when I read this.
Tell me.
So the show that broke Wicked's record for the highest money made in a week was Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark.
No way.
Yep, in 2011, Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark, which is notorious for being like...
Did someone die during that?
I think someone either got severely injured or
maybe
died.
Like broke their back or
there
something.
were multiple people. Yeah, like so many things. I think an
down.
audience member got hurt. Like it was the
That's
most. It reminds me of in Only Murders in the Building. I'm pretty sure they were like parodying Spider-Man, like in that part, like where Martin Short has like that musical called Dive. You know?
Yes,
how, like,
yes.
Like
Splash.
Spider-Man. Yeah, Spider-Man was like they spent millions and millions and millions of dollars and like They went through so many scripts and like it was like the most cursed show ever. But somehow I guess it created a buzz. Sort of like Don't Worry, Darling, how like everyone wants to see it because of all the drama surrounding it. Yeah. I think everyone wanted to see Spider-Man because of all the drama surrounding it.
Maybe they did it on purpose.
And it only beat out Wicked. Yeah, honestly. It only beat out Wicked by $58.
Oh my god. But that's like less than a ticket.
I know. Yeah, I know. So it's crazy. But Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark held the title for a very brief moment in time.
Oh, okay.
And the Gershwin Theater now. So, but
do you
Spider-Man
know what holds it now?
Yeah. Well, I believe I know who it is. Can you guess who holds it now?
Right now?
Yeah.
Do
it's so like obvious. No, I like it.
It's so obvious. Is it running right now?
Mm-hmm. It's so obvious. Like once you hear it, you're like, oh duh. Like I had to look it up.
Do I know this musical?
Yes. So I'm pretty sure that right now I believe it's Hamilton that holds the record for the most amount of money made in a week.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
Yeah, it was like 4 million something.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I know.
Impressive, but not surprising. Because those tickets were going for like $1,000
Yeah, remember? That was crazy.
That was wild.
So, yeah. And the Gershwin Theater itself, going back to the theater, its highest record is still held by Wicked, and it was when Wicked grossed $3.4 million over 9 performances in a week.
Wow.
I know, which I'm like trying to do the math in my head. Like if it holds about 2,000 people, right? The theater. And they do 9 performances. What? So that's like 18,000 people?
18,000 people going to see that.
Divided by 13 million. Like wouldn't each person have to pay like $1 million for a ticket? I know that's wrong, but like in my head, I'm like, what do they have to pay so much money for a ticket?
I actually don't even want to comment on that because that's not making sense in my head either.
Yeah, okay, so we just won't even comment on that.
Yeah.
But anyway. Yeah, so Gershwin Theater is definitely known mostly for Wicked, I would say. But sure. And so honestly, like since it's only been around since the 70s, I was curious if there were any haunts with this.
Yes, there are, but not as many. And they made it a point in the article which I used, which I'll put in the show notes. It's through Playbill, that there aren't as many haunts with this theater because
it's newer.
It's 1972.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, there are 3 ghosts. One that's very well known in like backstage. Mm-hmm. His name is Drew. And he's nicknamed Dennis, so like depending on who you ask, his name is either Drew or Dennis, but he's the same person.
It takes more effort to say Dennis than Drew.
Yeah, right? This is kind of weird. And then there's 2 other unnamed spirits. One is seen in jeans and a t-shirt, and the other is seen in like an 1800s blue suit.
Oh, that's quite a difference.
Which I think it's kind of cute, actually, how like ghosts of like different time periods could be friends.
I
know.
You
know what I'm saying?
I know. It's also funny that he got stuck in like a suit and she got to just wear like, or she got to wear just like a t-shirt.
Jeans and t-shirts, yeah. But during Wicked, flying monkeys, so you know how like the one scene with all the flying monkeys, those in particular like targeted.
They're targeted by the ghosts?
Yes. So they receive taps on the shoulder. Ooh. And like the front of the house is extremely active. Oh. So if you're a flying monkey and you're standing there, you can almost guarantee like a tap on your shoulder.
Oh, it's so creepy.
So this is so weird. But members of the cast would see other members and they would see them like, I don't know, say like backstage right.
Okay.
And then they'd look out on the stage and they would be out on stage.
Oh, that's weird.
So they would see these people.
Ooh, it's like they're shape-shifting.
In multiple places at the exact same time. Is that
weird?
And like, you know how they have like the catwalk up above stage? Yes. They would see someone walk across that, and then they'd see someone walk in the opposite direction across the stage.
That's very bizarre.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, I'm like, I don't even know if that's a haunting or like a glitch in the Matrix.
Yeah. Creepy. And then spirits would obviously be seen disappearing through curtains or through walls.
Classic.
Yep. All right, I think we have 2 theaters left.
Yes, I believe we do.
Take your pick.
So next, let's talk about the Lyceum Theater, which opened back in 1903. So this is another super old one.
Yes.
The Lyceum is Broadway's oldest continually operating legitimate theater. The Lyceum has 922 seats, so this is actually the smallest.
Yeah.
And if you look at pictures of it, which I'm sure we'll put it in the Instagram post, but it was definitely inspired by Roman art, the architecture of it. It sort of looks like what's the word? Like a temple. I don't know. It's got the pillars. It's like the white. It's very Greek.
So you know that you and I were at the Lyceum Theater together?
Yes. Which I like wish I remember what the outside looked like. I don't remember.
It's
the inside
small.
I remember was cool. Yeah.
Very small on the outside.
I remember when we saw Christmas Carol, there was that man who was, remember he was sitting behind us and he was being so cranky and rude?
Yes.
And my sister turned around and was like, or she was like, purposely, so she was like, someone's acting like Scrooge or something.
Yes, I do remember that.
But anyway, the Lyceum, you might be wondering what the name means. Well, there's also another theater in London by the same name.
Yes.
So I looked up what Lyceum means, and it's actually an ancient Greek word, and according to Merriam-Webster, it means a hall for public lectures or discussion, or an association providing public lectures, concerts, and entertainment. So it's unsurprising that the theater is called the Lyceum, because it basically means like a place where people gather for entertainment.
Huh.
So there's definitely Greek vibes, ancient Greek vibes flowing throughout this theater.
Flowing.
And some notable shows include A Christmas Carol, which we saw.
Yes.
The Play That Goes Wrong, which was like a big play a couple years back.
I remember that.
And Steel Magnolias. And it's held a couple of musicals, like Be More Chill, lest we forget. That show was like, it was like horrible.
When you were mentioning how Spider-Man Turn Off
Yeah.
the Dark took the place of Wicked for a second, I thought you were going to say
this.
Be More
Oh my
Chill.
god. Well, did you know Be More Chill and Stephen Sondheim went to go see it and he left during intermission?
Did he really?
Mm-hmm. Isn't that crazy?
Oh my god, imagine.
I know. I honestly feel a little bit bad for the actors. Like, I would be so upset.
Oh my god, I'd be so sad.
But anyway, God rest his soul. He's awesome. Take that out.
Sondheim.
Okay, so it's held a couple musicals like Be More Chill, and right now it's showing A Strange Loop, which is also a musical.
Oh yes, yeah.
And I think it won a bunch of Tonys actually this year. But they've definitely hosted far more plays than musicals at the Lyceum. So that's kind of the overview.
I wonder if it's not.
Maybe
if
the
it doesn't
acoustics
exactly if it doesn't lend itself to musicals or something.
Yeah. But then you wonder why they did do some musicals. I don't know. I guess it just depends on like what's hot.
Is
A
Strange Loop like a super music heavy show?
I don't really know anything about A Strange Loop besides that it has won a lot of Tonys.
Huh.
So I don't know.
Interesting.
I've been meaning to listen to it, but I just haven't. Maybe we'll have to do that.
Yeah, let's do it. I
was
found
like,
that there was one spirit that haunts the Lyceum Theater.
I'm surprised there's not more, just because it's
Me
so
too.
old.
And this was like actually hard to find too. Like it's not like broadcasted everywhere. But they do say that the Lyceum, there's a lot of like smaller ghostly occurrences there, like disembodied footsteps, taps on the shoulder. They say that that's more common, but there's really only one notable spirit.
Okay. Got it.
And it's a famous choreographer known by the name of Bob Fosse.
Yes.
Yes.
He's super famous. Right?
So he had a flair for the dramatic, and he was known for coming into the theater, and he would only sit in the front row of the balcony, and he would smoke a cigarette and watch the show. Because, this is back in the day
many divas.
Where you would smoke a cigarette in the middle of a Broadway theater and no one had anything to say.
They'd be like, there's Bob.
So in 2016, Cheetah Rivera, who played in Oh Hello at the Lyceum, she had known Bob Fosse in life, and she was just kind of hanging around on stage, and she heard some other cast members and like maybe some crew members say that they had heard weird sounds and smelled cigarette smoke up in the balcony seats, but there's no reason that there should be like cigarette smoke.
Yeah, especially in this day and age.
So she said that was definitely Bob Fosse who came to watch his quote favorite actress perform.
Oh, that's great.
Which is
that's
really
so
cute actually. And then
Aww.
also it's noted that like audience members feel like a looming presence behind them, and then when they turn around, like there's no one there.
Maybe that old man, that cranky old man was...
I was just gonna say though, like the seats in the Lyceum
were so
if I
close
remember,
together.
they were very close together. So maybe
I remember
that's
didn't
what
they
that
also
was.
give us that like popcorn balls or something in the middle of the performance?
Yes,
right?
they did.
Or like apples or something.
Something they did. I actually enjoyed seeing it at the Lyceum.
I liked it. It was really
cool. It had
cool.
a really cool stage too. So do you want to end us off with our last theater that we're going to be covering on this episode?
Yes, let's go.
This is one of my favorites.
Yes, I'm actually glad that we saved this one for last.
Yes, me too.
So our final theater that we're going to be talking about today is the Eugene O'Neill Theater.
Love it.
The Eugene O'Neill Theater opened in 1925 as a part of a hotel and theater complex, which was named after the 19th century tragedian, which
like
was named
comedian,
after
but like tragedy.
So that's what I thought it was. It actually just means like an actor who does tragedies. So like, you know how like a lot of Shakespeare shows like are classified as like a comedy or a tragedy?
Yeah, so there's comedian and tragedian.
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, I know, right? I hadn't really heard that.
No,
I looked it up too.
Heard of that before.
Because I thought, I was like, is it like a sad comedian? Like, what does it mean? It just means like an actor who did a lot of
in comedy or in tragedies.
Yes, and his name was Edwin Forrest. So it was originally named after Edwin Forrest, and it had 1,108 seats. It still does. I don't know why I used past tense. So the hotel and theater complex was named after Edwin Forrest. And then after that, it was called the Coronet Theater. But now it's named after Eugene O'Neill, who was an American playwright. You might, unless you're like super into plays, like I feel like I know a lot of, like a good amount of plays, but like I had only heard of a couple of them. One of his more famous works includes The Iceman Cometh, which won a couple Tonys, a couple years ago. They revived it. And then also there was a play called Long Day's Journey into Night that was pretty popular. So he has a lot of very popular plays, but I think they were just from, like, before our time.
Yeah,
and, like, before our grandparents' time, even.
Gotcha.
Something interesting, the playwright Neil Simon acquired the theater in 1967, and then he staged a bunch of his own shows there. So he wrote Odd Couple, Brighton Beach Memoirs. He's like a super famous playwright, and I thought it was so interesting that he like bought the theater. Like he owned it for a while. So obviously Odd Couple played there, some other Neil Simon shows, but then some other popular shows were Death of a Salesman, Spring Awakening, and yeah, I know Spring Awakening's tough.
Spring Awakening is one of those shows that I really just can't get into.
I like the music, but like I could
the music
never
is good.
do the show.
I could never.
Yeah.
But Lea Michele and Jonathan Groff, man.
They're great. Yeah, they're so great in that.
How do you feel about Lea Michele in Funny Girl? Which
I can't believe we didn't discuss this at the beginning.
I know. I meant to actually when we were discussing the Ziegfeld Follies.
Yeah.
Because Fanny Bryce, who's the main character in Funny Girl, was a Ziegfeld Folly. Yeah. And I was going to ask you what you thought of it.
All right. Well, I do have a couple of thoughts. You can go first if you want.
Okay. My thoughts on Liam. Well, I think Jonathan Groff is so talented.
He's awesome.
That's my thoughts on Jonathan Groff. I love him. My thoughts on Lea Michele are that she is extremely problematic, but she's also really talented. Mm-hmm. So it's really frustrating when like people who are that problematic get that much recognition and talent, but I do think that she is very well fit for the role that she's in right now.
She definitely sounds great from like the bootleg TikToks that I've seen.
Well, those are so interesting.
Yeah, I'm like, and they're such high quality. I'm like, how do they do this?
How do they sneak that?
I know.
And then also, I love the TikTok trend right now where people are actually going to the show dressed up as Sue Sylvester, who's like
that's pretty funny.
Coach from Glee. And apparently she
thinks it's funny.
Jane Lynch, she thinks it's hilarious. So
because Jane Lynch was in the show,
in it,
right? Before.
And then she quit. Lea Michele.
Well, oh my god, it's just so life imitates art. I completely agree with you on like everything you said. I do feel bad for Beanie. I feel like she was mistreated. Like they kind of set her. I feel like they set her up for failure.
They really did.
I don't know what the goal was, but I don't know. She definitely did not deserve all the hate she was getting.
No, but Julie Benko now is on Thursday nights,
and she's really, really good.
She's excellent. So
she's probably like my favorite.
Yeah, if I were to go see Funny Girl, I would want to go see it on a Thursday night.
I totally agree.
But that being said, Lea Michele is unfortunately, very talented.
Yeah, she's very talented.
And
but
that's just an objective statement.
Yeah.
But Beanie, you're a queen. We're sorry for everything that happened.
People are cruel. Yeah. Keep your head up, girl.
You deserve the best that's coming to you.
Beautiful. You should get that on a t-shirt. You deserve the best.
The best that's coming to you. Alright, where were we?
But anyway, so they had some big shows like Odd Couple, Spring Awakening, and the most recent is Book of Mormon, which has been on since 2011.
Great. So, I love Book of Mormon.
Book of Mormon is one of those shows.
Book of Mormon, if there is a show that I'm gonna keep going back to and going back to and going back to, it's Book of Mormon.
I think it's without a doubt the funniest
absolutely
show ever, like in history. Yeah.
100%. Like there is not even another show that comes close to it.
I agree.
It is so funny. When we went to go see it the most recent time, and this happened when you and I went to go see it too, but people they left at intermission because they were like so offended, which I understand if you're going into it not knowing.
But it's also been on Broadway for like 12 years now.
So you should probably have a little bit of more of an idea of the show that you're going to see. Like maybe if you know that a show is known for being
racy.
Like really racy and like really dark humor, inappropriate, offensive humor, and it's made by the creators of South Park,
then you should know.
And you get offended, maybe give the soundtrack a listen, because the fourth song on that soundtrack is really kind of, it just sets the mood for the rest of the show, so...
Which, the fourth song?
Yeah, Hasadiga Evil
Oh, yeah, that
which I'm not going to
What we were talking about, we were saying how I used to feel guilty when I listened to that when I was
literally would not listen to it when I was a kid, because I was like... Anyway, but
great show.
Book of Mormon is incredible. Like I said, soundtrack, I'm never going to skip Man Up, ever. It's so good.
There are really no skippers in that.
There's really... No, there's not. I can't even think of, like... No, there's not one single song that I would skip on that album.
Big fans.
Love Book of Mormon. And do you follow... I'm totally blanking on his name, but he's the famous TikToker who's now in...
I know who you're talking about. Yes, he's playing Elder McKinley or something, right?
Yeah.
Or Elder Price?
It's not Elder Price, but it's McKinley? Like, it might be Elder Grant.
Turn it off? That guy?
No, I think he's Elder Grant.
Okay.
So one of the other elders, but maybe he's Elder Price. I don't know. I'll cut this out. He plays one of the elders, and he is
TikTok
excellent. Yeah, he just I would like to go see him while he's in it, but...
Ooh.
I want to go back already.
We're big fans.
I really I saw it this summer, and I really am already itching to go back and see it again.
So if you went to go see it again, would you see any haunts there?
I would certainly keep my eye out.
Ooh.
There is one female and one male ghost.
Okay.
And they do classic ghost shit. They're on the classic grind. Props are pushed off shelves.
Of course.
And then when Sweeney Todd was in the midst of its run, gardening shears and razors would fall from shelves or be flung, which is really dangerous.
That's super dangerous, especially if they weren't just props. If they were actually sharp.
They were actually sharp.
Ooh.
And so that was kind of an issue.
Yeah.
Props were hidden as well.
Okay.
One actor had some sort of prop whistle that he put in the pocket of his coat, and it was taken out of there, and he couldn't find it, and no one could find it. And then there was a group of crew members that were downstairs, underneath the stage, and there was a pile of what they call dead clothes that aren't in the production. There's no reason for anyone to be near them or touching them, and they went to go move it, and the whistle fell out.
Weird. Okay.
Weird.
How did that get in there?
And then speaking of Sweeney Todd, Patti LuPone, who was Mrs. Lovett in the 2005 revival, she was particularly targeted by these spirits.
Interesting.
Nothing malevolent, but she just maybe she had a little bit of sensitivity, spiritual sensitivity. But she would bump into invisible people, so she would either bump shoulders with someone who wasn't there. She'd feel like she was stepping on someone's foot, and she'd turn around to apologize, and there was no one there. So she was constantly apologizing to people that weren't there behind the stage.
Oh my God.
Her dressing room doors would open and close on their own. She would always smell lilacs for some reason, which I know we've mentioned before. Ghosts can communicate through causing you to smell something. So like in the Farnsworth house with the rose perfume.
Yes, throwing it back.
Way back. Her hair would always be tugged, and then on stage, in the middle of her performance, she would hear someone whisper her character's name into her ear.
Oh, wow. They were really targeting her.
Just like, Mrs. Lovelace.
Yeah, that's
creepy.
Taking you out of character.
And then one other actor, Merwin Ford, was taking a nap between rehearsal and the actual showtime, and he had mentioned to someone, like, you know, wake me up before I have to go on. And he was peacefully sleeping, and then the next thing he knew, he was being shoved out of the cot that he was on.
Oh, wow.
And he was alone in this room, so he was like, who did that? But he woke up, and he realized that he was like a few seconds away from missing his cue.
Oh, wow.
So he attributes like the spirit as a helpful spirit.
That's a very helpful spirit.
But that's that. So that pretty much wraps up like the haunts. And I think we're only planning on covering those 5 theaters for this episode. If there's an interest to go into some other ones, there's no shortage of haunted theaters on Broadway. Yeah. So, but those are our 5 main ones that we're going to be covering on this episode.
Overall, I would not be scared to go into any of these theaters.
No.
They all seem very sweet and helpful, honestly. Or mischievous at worst.
Yeah, and honestly, there's no demonic entities. There's no malevolent intent here. It just seems like these people loved their job as an actress or a chorus girl or a choreographer so much that when they died, they weren't ready to give up
they were
the
like,
spotlight.
I don't want to leave. Yeah, they're like, I'm going to stay here.
I wouldn't either. If you love your job so much that you come back to it in the afterlife, there's something to be said for that.
And if you make it on Broadway, I'm not. If I make
You're
it on
entitled
Broadway,
to keep that for the rest for how long you want.
that's quite the accomplishment. So flex it as long as you want.
Absolutely.
Those were really fun, though. I really liked that.
I loved this episode. I love talking about things that we're passionate about.
I know!
I know that we both said that we're closeted Disney adults.
Yes.
I'm proud theater adult.
As am I. They're intertwined with each other.
Absolutely. So,
thank you guys very much for listening. We will have another episode out next week, and to everyone who's been listening and downloading, especially our Watcher House episode, thank you so much. Be sure to leave a review wherever you're listening to this, because it really does help us out.
Absolutely.
And if you have any ideas or comments or stories, just be sure to DM us at east.coast.haunts on Instagram, or email us east.coast.haunts@gmail.com. Anything else to add, MK?
Make sure you're following our Instagram if you're listening to our episodes, because we do post pictures and little things that we talk about in the episode so that you guys can have a visual that accompanies the episode. So make sure you're giving us a follow on Instagram. If you're not on Instagram, give our Facebook page a like, because we post all of the stuff that we post on our Instagram on Facebook as well. Again, sign up for our mailing list, because that's going to be coming out soon. And that's pretty much it, I think. Keep an eye out for a new episode coming next week. And until then,
we're just 2 ghouls reaping it real.
Bye!
Bye, guys!